Hi, welcome to P1. Today we're going to be looking at Factorizing, so Unit 1.3. So Factorizing is essentially the opposite of expanding brackets. It's when you write expressions as a product of their factors. For P1 you need to be able to factorize simple linear expressions, quadratics, also some cubics, but generally when you have to take out an x term initially, and difference of two squares as well is another one you need to know. I'm going to go through a few examples, 7 in total, different kind of styles for this. Feel free to skip ahead to the questions if you want to just try those and check your answers afterwards. First question, just need to look at both terms. There's only a letter in here, so I'm looking at the numbers. That's the best place to start. What goes into both 6 and 24? And 6 goes into both. So that's the factor I want to take out. So if I've taken a factor of 6 out of 6x, that's going to leave me with x. And if I've taken a factor of 6 out of 24, it's going to leave me with 4. And you can double check afterwards. 6 times x, 6x, 6 times negative 4, negative 24. And you do want to double check that. Look at the second one. Looking at the first one, so first look at the numbers. I've got a 6 and a 2, so there's a factor of 2 that can come out there. Then look at the letters. There's an A in both, so I can take that out, and then I can take 1B out of both. So now looking at the first one, I took 2 out of the 6, the factor of 2, so it's going to leave me with 3. And that's it, because 2AB now multiplied by 3 is the 6AB. And then looking at the second one, we've taken the 2 out, an A out, a B out, so we're only left with 1B. If you're unsure about these kind of ones, these GCSE ones, all you want to do is maybe first start by looking at the two numbers and look for the biggest number that goes into both, so the largest factor, highest common factor, which this case is 2. And then think of splitting up your letters. And when you look for what's common, you can circle them, and that is what I take outside. So you can see here 2AB goes outside, and I'm left with 3 minus 1B. Okay, and obviously I don't need to write the number 1 there. But that's how you can break it down if you need a little bit more help with some of these. Okay, number 3, you can see we've got an x in both but no numbers, so let's take an x outside, leave me x plus 4. And number 4, I can take an x squared out of both, leave me an x plus 2. And again, I can double check both of these. X times x is x squared, x times 4, 4x. X squared times x, x cubed, x squared times 2, 2x squared. Okay, example 5 now. Now this is when we're starting to look at factorising into two brackets. Okay, I've got a single x squared term, so I've got the coefficient of this term is 1, so there's essentially no number in front of it, and that makes our life quite easy. So I'd always approach this, so while you can complete the square or use the formula, I'd always approach this first by seeing if I can factorise it into two brackets. So obviously this is a factorising part of the chapter, but you could still use some other methods. So anyway, this one I can put an x in both. Now, knowing that this is a negative at the end means that I have to have a minus and a plus sign in here. Okay, so I've just filled in the bit of the bracket to help me out, and then I'm going to look at this end number here. Is this 40 or minus 40? You're looking for the numbers that will make 40. So if you're unsure and you don't spot this straight away, you might want to write down a load of the numbers that multiply to give you to 40. So you can see in this one, 5 and 8 will multiply to give me 40, and negative 5 and positive 8 is how I'll get my 3, as 8 take away 5 is positive 3. And obviously if this was a negative 3, I'd just swap the signs around here. So we have negative 5, positive 8. Now again, let's approach the second one. We've got a 3x squared here. The only way to make 3 is with the 1 times 3. So I know I've got to do 3x times x. Again, I've got a negative sign at the end, so I know it's a positive and a negative, but I'm not going to put them in my brackets yet, as I don't know if it'll be in this bracket or this bracket, since they are different this time. Okay, so I can do this in a few different ways. I can do this by thinking, to get to the 8, it can only be a 1 and an 8, a 2 and a 4. Okay, so I can think of it that way. And thinking of the 2 and the 4, 3 times 4 is 12. And 12 take away 2 is 10. So, I can quickly work this out now, and I've got my 3x squared plus 12x minus 2x is my 10x, and minus 2 times 4 is my 8. If I'm not sure, what I can do is multiply the term in front of the x squared with my final term. So I'm doing 3 times my negative 8 there to be negative 24. And then I'm looking for the pairs of factors of 24 that will make my 10. So I can go 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and so on. Okay, and 2 and 12 is the one that will do it. Negative 24, so has to have different signs. But if I did take it this method, what I'm really doing is I'm finding that line that you get when you first expand the brackets. So it's like the line that would be in between these. If we expanded the brackets, we would get. And then it's just a bit of factorizing here. So x, and when I'm factorizing these, I'm just looking at the first 2 terms and then the second 2 terms. So I can take x out, leaves me 3x minus 2. And on this one I can take out 4, leaves me with 3x minus 2. And I know I'm right when both brackets are the same. So I got 3x minus 2 is multiplied by x plus 4. Okay, so that's a slightly slower method to finding this, but sometimes it's necessary to do that if you can't see it quick enough. But with more practice, you'll get better and better at factorizing these. And final one, you can see now I've got an x term in each. So the first step is to take the x term out. Give me 2x squared plus 13x plus 15. Now, I see a lot of mistakes with this. People seem to sometimes think, or students think, that this is like equal 0, as that's how they often see it. So they just divide by the x, and they essentially don't write anything but that 2x squared plus 13x plus 15. Okay, but you can't do that if it isn't already equal to 0. If it's just factorizing, you can't just get rid of terms like that. And now we're going to put this into 2 brackets. So I'm still keeping my x outside. It's a 2x squared, so it's got to be 2x and x. And again, to make 15, there's only 1 and 15, 3 and 5. So this is quite easy. The 5 will go there and the 3 will go there, and they're all positive. Because that gives me 10x plus 3x is 13, and 3 5s are 15. So as I said, like the more you do this, the easier it is to spot these. But again, you can use the method that I did on the previous example to get the answer here. Now I almost forgot difference of two squares. So do these quickly. If you see two square terms with a subtract sign in between them, hence difference of two squares, then you can put these into two brackets. And all you need to do is you need to think that basically one bracket's got a plus, one bracket's got a minus, and each of your terms are the square root of the terms above. So this is going to be an x and a y, an x and a y. If I look at this one in number 9, both terms are square terms. Square number, square term, square letter. Square number, square letter, so it gives me two square terms with a minus sign. So looking at this one, 9x squared will be 3x if I square rooted it, and 16y squared will be 4y. So 3x and 4y. So that one is more of, you need to recognize it. Okay, so that one's all about recognizing it. Pause the video here to try these yourself. The answers will be shortly. I'll put the answers up fairly quickly on a lot of them, but a few of the harder questions towards the end I will go through how to solve them. So we're up to 8. Now there's a difference of two squares answers here. It doesn't matter if I go with the minus then the plus, or the plus then the minus. It's both going to be the same. And there's the rest of the answers there. I think the first 12 should be pretty straightforward. Okay, if you are struggling with these, you do need to make sure you're practicing a lot more. You'll have a lot of options in your textbooks. Make sure you're practicing this a lot, it's really important. So again, number 13, nice straightforward, difference of two squares there. And number 14 now, where it gets a little bit harder, as the factors of 15, you know, is 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Factors of 9 are 1 and 9, 3 and 3. And this does make it a little bit more difficult because I'm looking for this kind of combinations to set up my brackets. So sometimes I will set up like this when I'm looking for pairs to try and make my two brackets. I've just shown you as an example here, but in this case it's not necessary, not at the beginning, because what I need to realize to make my life easier is that there's a factor of 3 that will go into each of these. So that is where I want to start. So if I take 3 out, I'm left with 5x squared plus 14x minus 3. Now I've just simplified it a little bit and made my life a little bit easier. So I am going to put these into two brackets. And now I know I have to have a 5x and an x, because that's the only way to make 5x squared. And I know to make 3 I need a 1 and a 3. It'll be no good putting the 3 and the 1 this way around, because I'll never get to that 14. So I know the 3 is going to have to be there and the 1 is there. I want a positive 14, so that'll give me a positive 15 minus that 1. So that is what I've got. Okay. Now, question number 15. First look to factorize some of it out. Got a y in both. Take that out. So 9x squared minus 4y squared. I'm now going to recognise that this is the difference of two squares. So that is 3x minus 2y, 3x plus 2y. So you look at question 16 and immediately it looks like difference of two squares. And it is, because if you think x squared is x to the power 4. So if you think about that, that does mean that we are going to be able to use the difference of two squares here. Just getting that out of the way there. So this will give me x squared plus, I don't know what I'm doing there, why am I going plus 4? X squared plus y squared, x squared minus y squared. And then what you can see is we've actually got a difference of two squares again here. So leaving this one alone and just changing my second one, I can go x plus y, x minus y. And there I have it. That's as factorized as I can make it. Number 17 and 16 as well. These are all exam questions. So look at number 17. You can take the x out first. Just going to pop it here instead. So that leaves me with 6x squared plus 7x minus 5. And then factorising this one. Again, we'll be able to go into two brackets, but this one we have to be a little bit careful because that 6x could be made with a 1 and a 6, or it could be made with a 2 and a 3. Okay, so I'm just going to rub that out a second, give myself a little bit more room. We'll pop it further down here. So all I'm thinking about here is that I can have a 1 and a 6, a 2 and a 3, and this can only be a 1 and a 5. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. So think of my pair. I know the pair for the end, just need to work out whether it's this pair or this pair that I need. So let's have a look at it. 1 times 1 is 1, and 6 fives are 30. Never going to get me the 7. If I think the other way, 6 and 5. 6 and 5, there's no combination that will make the 7 there. If I look at this one, 2 and 15. There's no combination to get to the 7. But 10 and 3. 10 and 3 is a combination I can get to the 7 with. So I want this pair and obviously this pair. And the 2 and the 5 is going to make 10. And the 3 and the 1 is going to make the 3. That needs to be the negative. That will need to be the positive because I want 10 take away 3. And that's just helped me set it up. So again, it doesn't really matter which way around I initially put these. It's just making sure now I want the 2 to multiply with a positive 5. So the plus 5 will have to go in this bracket. And I want the minus 1 to multiply with the 3. So the minus 1 is in this bracket. And then a quick check. 6x squared minus 3x plus 10x is that 7x, and 5 times 1 is minus 5. And that's probably the quickest kind of way you can do this. Let's have a look at the last question. Last question looks harder than it is. You know, we've got a power 4, but this one is a squared term. So just like when we break it up into two brackets, which are x and x, we can break it into two brackets, which are x squared and x squared. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the 4 in the front is making it a little bit harder, but that's it. So let's have a look. So again, I'll do this in black to match the other one. So 1 and 4, 2 and 2. This can only be 3 and 3. Wait, or 1 and 9. Almost missed that one out. positive n number, negative in the middle, they have to both be negative. So that's what we're looking at. And now I just want to look at comparing them. So my 1 and 4, if I compare that with the -3 and -3, it's going to give me -3 and -12. Not going to get me to -13. Let's take the 1 and 4. Oh, let's rule out the 3 and 3. So 2 times -2 is -6, and -6 is -12. So, you know, I can quite quickly say, well, that is definitely not going to work. Having a look now at the -1 and the -9. If I go 4 ones, it's -4, and -9 is -13. So that is the pair, or the pair of pairs that I want. And now I just need to set it up. So we want 4x is what we're thinking initially, like this, but it's not x, it's x squared. So we got a 4 and a 1, and we want the -1 and -9s, they're both minuses. Now we wanted the 4 times by 1, so the 4 here times by 1, and we wanted the 1 times by 9. So that's my setup. Okay, and you might think, oh, the factorise the 2 brackets is done, but if I look carefully at the brackets, difference of 2 squares, square term, negative sign. Difference of 2 squares, square term, negative sign. So this will actually factorise again, basically into 4 brackets. So taken from the first bracket, we'd have 2x minus 3 and 2x plus 3. And from the second bracket, x minus 1, x plus 1. And there we are, fully factorised there. X to the power 4 into 4 factors, 4 terms. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. My aim is to try and get a few videos, a few lessons each day to try and build up each of the courses so that you can run through them at your own pace. Until next time, bye-bye.